All right, good evening, Star Wars CCGers. It is I, your host, Chris Gogolin. Welcome to episode, I think it's 90. I lost count. I always have to check YouTube to figure out which one it is, and I forgot to do that this time. I think this is episode 90 of my weekly GEMP game review series. Thank you for joining us. For those of you here at the beginning, thank you for being on time, and you will get to see the hologram version of Admiral Trench. I'll show it again later at the end, but everybody else is going to have to wait. So last week we showed Rex. This is the foil for Online Play Weekend, which should be coded into GEMP. And Dan tried to pull up, well, I guess he got the image too late, on Holo Theater on Wednesday. So that is the Trench foil, which I think Trench actually looks really good for the hologram there. So that is what's going on with Online Play Week, which we can find out. How do I get that foil? Well, you just go to, if you go to Online Play Week. Platypus, thank you for renewing your subscription. Oh. Or subscribing altogether. And Belugo, also 11 months now. Thank you very much for that. All right, so here's the three foils that we've given out previously, the previous years. And right down here at the bottom is what you have to do. You send an email to volunteers at starwarsccg.org, and you include this information. Number 4 is the most important, because without that, we can't mail you your foils. And if you're participating in the OCS, there's always the possibility that you signed up back in January or February, and now it's July and you've moved. So obviously having this to make sure that your address is up to date, because I'm probably going to use what's in the store, and then that's going to be 4 months or 3 months out of date, in which case hopefully you've got mail forwarding still with the post office. But you copy your game link, put a brief description. I played Greg and he beat me. There you go. Send that in, and then I got a bunch of those foils right there, so I'll slip them into the packages with the OCS foils for people. And if you don't play in the OCS, well, then you'll just get that foil mailed out to you. And I'll try and get those out in the next couple weeks here. Yeah, I think Trench is better too. I think Trench looks much better than Rex. Of course, we have to give the big shout out to Kevin. Kevin's in the chat right now. Everybody say thank you, Kevin. Kevin and his team, the Welsh Dragons. I don't know how much the Welsh Dragons participated given the COVID situation. But thank you, Kevin, for all your tireless work, putting all those, endless work really, putting all the foils together, getting them all printed up and shipped out over here to me, and for taking on the responsibility of making sure that the European players somehow get their copies as well. Hopefully things loosen up a little bit over there, and you can get back to work and get your business open. Someday you and I are going to have a bowling match, my friend. I don't know how good it's going to be, but someday we will have that. You played Flood in a Premier New Hope sealed game, and sealed counts. Any way you can get those game in, just make it happen. And you have until Sunday, right? It's the 10th through Sunday the 19th. So you had last weekend, and you've got through this weekend. So to get that stuff submitted, they'll probably start putting the list together Monday morning. I mean, they're probably putting the list together already. But it'll probably, when they wake up Monday morning, look at the list and be like, all right, anything we get after this point, you're probably not getting a foil. So make sure to just send that over. It's a quick email. It takes 30 seconds. If you're not sure where to find your game replay link, you go to Game History. You click your little replay link right here, and it opens up, and then you just copy the URL out of your web browser and paste it. So that's all you got to do. But speaking of other things, since Adam hasn't done enough work compiling the win-loss records of all the different decks for the last couple of months, which hopefully they're working on some way to actually GEMP to populate it itself, so he doesn't have to physically record all the results. He moved on to his next project, which is to come up with some type of rating system. Uh, for those of you who played back in the live physical card decipher era, you remember that there were rating points at all tournaments. You started at 1,500. If each game was worth a maximum of 16 points, you could win 16 points, you could lose 16 points. And depending on the rating of your opponent, there was a sliding scale. Whether you started at 8, assuming if you were both 1,500 players, and you won the game, you gained 8 points. You lost the game, you lost 8 points. And then if your opponent was better than you and you beat them, it went up to 16, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's how many points you would gain and they would lose, and vice versa. So if you were 2,000 rated player and you lost to a 1,500 who's at his first tournament, you were going to lose the full 16 points. So I don't know if he's still using the same ELO, K value, and all that kind of stuff. I know towards the end of the Decipher era, 2001, 2002, they were still doing the rating system in 2002. And even into 2003, they were still responsible for it. But Decipher jacked up their K value is what it's called, the coefficient. So instead of a maximum of 16 points per game, depending on what type of tournament you were in, it could go up to as high as 64. So at the World Championships, games were worth 64 points apiece. So you had these huge swings, and people would go 6-2 in the World Championships and gain like 300 points. Depending on who they beat, it could really be pretty drastic, pretty dramatic. And if you look at the final values from the end of 2003, I think it was when Decipher stopped doing it. You had players rated at like 2,300, something like that. Whereas before that, everybody was pretty much like 2,000-ish, 2,100. And you're getting 2 points a game at that point to crawl your way up to 2,200. Because you're so much higher than everybody else you're playing against for the most part, so it's really hard to get points. But yeah, I don't know what he's working on here. Maybe he's in the chat. They do update GEMP to store deck types. That hasn't happened yet. Okay. I'm looking at doing it using the old code database. Okay. Definitely happen. I look forward to it, man. Kevin, we're going to bowl. I don't know where it's going to be. I really wanted to get people at the European Championships because there's that bowling alley right there at Worlds last year. I was trying to talk Silver Glen into it, and everybody was like, he's like, yeah, it sounds like a great idea. Let's do it like, Sunday afternoon. It's like, aren't you guys all going to be playing, Or let's do it on Monday. And it was like, yeah, I was flying back on Monday, so that wasn't going to happen. Hopefully you guys still went bowling and had fun. I know you guys normally do stuff there at the event. So, I don't know. We'll figure it out. The K value I'm using now is 36. Okay. That's 36. Okay. That's a bit steeper than previous, but then again, if we're only doing OCS-based games, I guess. So obviously some things, I guess max rating is the highest they've ever been, and this is what they currently are. Yeah, all-time ratings, just in the OCS. Okay. And then you got some of the biggest upsets down here as well. So should certainly be interesting. And hopefully you won't have to keep this all by hand. And maybe that, when they do the open source coding, maybe somebody can blend this in as well. Holotable had it for a little while, but they had the option to not play. Like you could play a rated game for points, or you could not play a rated game. And most people just chose not to play a rated game because they were all playtesting bad decks, and they didn't want to lose points with it. And I don't know if that was really, it really didn't seem like it served much of a purpose then. So, not that ratings in general serve a purpose so much anymore, because there's only like 100 of us still actively playing in these types of events. Maybe like 150. And we're getting more on GEMP now that there's more activity on there. We're seeing, a lot more people competing in things like the OCS. If you're looking at the July event qualifier, I mean, we've got Let's see. So 60 starts here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 70. That's 80, almost 90 players signed up, although, a handful of them are inactive over here and haven't played any games yet, and we're halfway through the month. But still, you got 90-ish players who've signed up, and we've got new people joining the tournaments for the first time, including our new darling, the Magic Pro, who's got like 20,000 Twitter followers, who has now decided to join us and play some Star Wars. Um, he played. I think he played previously and has come. In the Decipher era, had his cards still in storage and whatnot, and saw some videos and things and got excited and decided to come give it a try for a little while. So maybe we'll pick up some of his 17, 18,000, whatever Twitter followers. Even if 5 of them wander over and are like, I used to play that game, we'll take it. So, but yeah, so hopefully this rating thing will probably, it'll probably, what Adams, look what it says here about after the season's over. So we've got the rest of July and we've got August, 1 month left. I'll have to try and salvage some wins here so I don't completely tank my rating just for pride's sake. Um, Last month was terrible, and this month is not off to a much better start for me. I've come to the conclusion that Dark Side is just really bad right now, unless you want to play ISB, and I don't. I don't want to play ISB. I don't like ISB. It's so boring. It's so boring. Yes, I'm whining and I'm pouting. I don't want to play it. But it either seems like that or Watto are the only Dark Side decks that are winning right now. Because everything else either auto loses to Throne Room or Legend or No Idea. And since those are by far the 3 most popular light side decks, you're pretty much just flipping a coin on what deck am I just going to scoop to on turn 3 or 4. And then you just cross your fingers and hope you don't get randomly paired up against somebody playing the rock to your paper or rock to your scissors. Yeah, that one. Um, with those decks. Dark Side definitely needs a shot in the arm. Hopefully that's what's being play tested in set 13, and we can get it some new life and some new blood. Something that doesn't make having, to rely on non-battlegrounds so punishing. On the flip side of things, I really think I might just have to build a dark side deck that's just all spies. We're just gonna play like 9 spies and undercovers. That's why I play ISB. They're all spies. I don't want to play ISB. Um, yeah, you just grab the double agent and then back him up with some more spies, and then light side will just do no damage anywhere. Maybe there's something to that. That sounds so bad. Corn Horn just keeps their one site alive. You never y'all know Corn Horn. All right, so we're working on something here. Where's Kendall? This sounds like a bad deck that he should be working on. We'll work on this one together. But that's the rating system. We covered online play. We'll take a quick peek at the leaderboard. We got some guys in the clubhouse here at 9-3, with about 50% here. Got a couple more guys. Adam could still get to 32 points if he wins his last 2 games and get to 10-2, and that would possibly qualify him. Paul, best he can do is 28, so not going to be his month yet again. Steve's already qualified. Heisenberg just dropped his first game. He was 6-0. So now he's sitting at 6-1, as is Nick. So they could both still potentially make a run. Heisenberg with the 55 strength of schedule, though, right now, certainly in a pretty good spot, whereas Nick right here, there's the 32. Maybe he's played some people who, played 1 or 2 games and really haven't done much yet, so he's not getting much, if his, wow, Bastion, 0-3. If he played Bastion and Bastion's 0-3, obviously he's going to bounce back from that. He's not going to finish the month 0-3. Some of these guys are going to pick up some wins along the way. And then you got some other people down here, 4-0. There's a couple 3-0s down here. So, still a lot of games left to be played. We're just not quite to the halfway point of the month. but that's what's going on there. Do we have any live action going on? Not really much live action going on right now either. I have noticed it's harder to find OCS games. I was trying to play all weekend, and I'd throw up a table and it would sit there for a while, and everybody seemed like they would rather do something else. They were doing quarantine leagues, they were doing my card foil leagues, they were doing playtesting leagues. Um, that kind of stuff. There's an online play specific league, online play week leagues to go with the quarantine leagues. So there's all kinds of other leagues that Batmouse has going on. So it seems like there's people are just finding all kinds of different ways to play, which is great. But it does seem like it's making it a little harder to find some OCS games right now. Who is that? Kimura, thank you for renewing your subscription. Month number 8. Thank you very much, Andy. We appreciate your support. All right, so I do have a game link that was submitted to me. It was sent to me through Facebook Messenger. This particular player was basically, can you review this and let me know everything I did wrong? Well, I don't know about that, but we'll give it a shot. Hopefully he watches the show. Otherwise, he's just going to completely miss out on all my sage wisdom. So it was submitted by I Am Star Fox. This is Brian. Droid Pimp. I know who Droid Pimp is, but I'm drawing a blank right now. I'm going to have to look it up because it's going to bother me. I could just call him Pimp, but hang on. I'm pretty sure if I go into my online championship series and I go to my season pass holders, I'm going to find his name at the bottom. Droid Pimp. Forrest. All right. Yeah, I'm not. Sobieski. Sobieski? Yeah, something like that. Okay, I'm going to butcher your last name. I'm sorry. We're not going to use it. I'm just going to call you Forrest, which is good because not Forrest Gump, but my favorite UFC fighter of all time is Forrest Griffin. I absolutely love that man. He was incredibly enjoyable to watch fight. Of course, involved in the greatest UFC fight in history against Stephan Bonner. I read both his books. The first one was much better than the second one. The first one's more biographical. The second one is all the random craziness that goes on in his head, where he really should be wearing his tinfoil hat. So we got Brian, we got Forrest. Brian is dark side in this particular game. And he will be playing Huntdown. All right. Let's see if he's got, I think he's got a traditional, he's playing against Yavin 4 Ops with Restore Freedom. He's going 12 card. Okay. And he is drawing all 12. It's always important to make sure you draw the right number of cards. He's already slightly disadvantaged just by the matchup. So if he's wondering, like, why did I lose this game? I'll tell you part of it right now is just the matchup. Yavin 4 Ops has a above average matchup against Huntdown. I won't call it like an auto win or auto loss or anything like that. It is probably 60-40 ish, somewhere in there. 65-35. Like Huntdown can win the games, but yeah, it's Yavin 4 Ops is usually a little favored in this. It really also depends on if they can cancel Visage. If they're taking Visage damage all game, it's a little bit trickier. If they have any way of getting rid of this, it usually goes a lot better for them. And of course, if they are correctly playing the virtual Red 5, which gets around the Huntdown objective. If they have the R2 and Red 5, so you get the free Luke, that can be a little bit more challenging too, because Huntdown is then usually flipped, and then you can't force drain where Luke is. And then you kind of want Luke out to do your retrieval. But if you're not getting that extra drain in a turn, it's going to make the game a lot harder. Today's beverage brought to us by Chick-fil-A. All right. So we look at Brian's hand with the 12 card start. He's got Ice Heart already to break any undercover spies, just in case. Usually with light side space decks, with any space deck, space heavy deck, sometimes an answer for ground based stuff is an undercover spy or two. Light side will also run in projection of a Skywalker, usually more common. Boshin Jin being the other options for auto undercover spies, as opposed to playing a spy and an undercover. And then, Darkside's got 3 with U3PO, Keter, and Arica. They also have Image of the Dark Lord. So sometimes and Dark Waters. So sometimes you'll see the effects. Sometimes you'll see the spies. Spies have more. They're more multi-purpose because you can deploy them not undercover or break their cover and do things, as opposed to the effects. But the effects also have lower risk because Image of the Dark Lord gets canceled because it's a hologram by the same thing that cancels Visage, the out of commission transmission terminated combo. Um, but Dark Side doesn't really have a. Alter can cancel projection if you're flipped, something like that. But projection's a little harder to deal with than Image. All right, and Droid Pimp's got the Yavin 4 ops. We haven't seen it too much. Hang on a second, it's getting a little dark in here. All right, so Yavin 4 ops is not a deck we have covered too often. It's definitely in that tier 2 realm, but it has some solid matchups and certainly does some interesting things. No respect for a gift. Yeah, no. But thank you for joining us, Chris Schoenthal. Tournament advocate Chris Schoenthal in the house. What? Next thing you know, he'll be playing a game of Star Wars. Maybe that's what he. Maybe that's it. He's trying to get some tips because he's going to play a game so he can submit his results and get his foil. That's what it all comes down to. But yeah, Yavin 4 ops. You start with Yavin and the War Room, so that's a nice 4-0 starting ratio, 4-1 starting ratio. The virtual Yavin that we have now, you can't deploy effects on related locations if you don't control the system, so you can't lateral damage on the system. Um, you can't do things like Image of the Dark Lord and Dark Waters and things on their sites. You can't put Presence of the Force on their War Room and then drop people down there and beat the crap out of them. So you kind of have to take the system first, which against the Restore Freedom could be a little challenging because you have to control, not just occupy. And then once per turn, you can use a force to get a battleground system. And then if rebels control 2 systems, you flip, or if you just have any 4 rebels on the table. And then you get power bonuses in battles for each piloted snub fighter. Snub fighters are basically anything with a letter. So A wings, B wings, X wings, Y wings, and Z95s are snub fighters. Once during your draw phase, if a system is liberated, you put a card in your lost pile out of play to retrieve a force. So you get some force retrieval, and you put cards out of play from your lost pile, so then you're lowering your lost pile count, which will help you win a tiebreaker. Excuse me. What does Restore Freedom do? This is how you liberate systems. So if you force drain out a battleground system that's not already liberated, you draw Destiny, you add 1 for each piloted snub fighter there. If your total is greater than 5, they lose a force from anywhere, and it goes under the system, making it liberated. You then add +1 to your drain, including the drain you just initiated, because this part resolves ahead of time. And that card is basically stuck there. If they control that system and force drain there, they get their card back and it goes to their use pile. But the other thing too is that their starships are also deploy +1, so could make ships a little bit more expensive, which might make a difference. So yeah, you draw. You have a guy in a ship there and you draw a 5, or you have 2 guys in ships there and you only need a 4 in order to complete that. So they're taking cards out of their life force and stacking them. Plus it's setting you up to retrieve some force. So it's got some interesting little balance things that let Restore Yavin 4 and Restore Freedom kind of drag a game out. All right. Hopefully that's better. All right. So Brian's got a bridge puller. and he already has this, and he already has Vader, but he only activates 5 Force. He did get Vane out, who can also get the Mustafar Castle, so he's got plenty of activation going. Um, if he really wanted to get Vader out turn 1, he could burn his Force Push. I don't know how much of a fan I am of that. I'd probably just be a little bit more conservative, get my activation, get my locations going, and then set up for turn 2, drop in this and Vader. But if you want it to be really aggressive, really aggressive. Now, if you deploy Vane, because he costs 1, -3 recite with Vader in game text, so he only costs 1, and then he can activate a force, putting you back up. So basically, he's free. So you plop him here at the Hollow Theater, and then you use him to go get your Mustafar Castle, or you use this to get your bridge. If you look and you see there actually is something useful worth grabbing out of your force pile, like, I don't know, your Gick or something, force pushing for it might not be the worst thing in the world, but to just sort of blindly do it turn 1, I'm sure there's going to be better opportunities to use the force push down the road. All right, so he's going to activate 5. And he's just going to blindly force push, which we just covered. Not necessarily thrilled with that, to just blindly do it. I'm sure he's doing it thinking he's going to get Vader out first turn, and that's what he needs to do. In this situation here, looking at these cards, you've got, I would say there's 2 choices to pick. There's Sonic to get additional activation, to get your prison out, probably your Cloud City prison. The other option would be to take a Dark Time, because you can manipulate their destiny draw, because you can subtract 1 from a draw, making it harder for them to liberate a system. Depending on the deck build, you probably have 2 or 3 copies of this. Definitely probably only 1 of this. I'd probably take the Dark Time. I would not take either character, because I don't know that characters are really going to be all that useful. I don't know what ships he's running for space, but maybe he's got an Emperor shuttle package, and Tarkin might be at least somewhat useful in that. But I doubt it, because it's very likely going to get shot, because this usually plays X-Wings with cannons and things like that. Usually you've got Luke and Wedge and some guys in matching ships, especially with squadron assignments. And then there's a good chance of some cannons. So given that you've got Vane to get the castle and this to get the bridge, and your opponent's going to pull a system or 2, I don't know you're going to need the force right away from the Sonic. I'd probably take the Dark Time. He takes the Sonic. All right, well, there's tip number 1. All right, so all of his locations are in there. So he gets out the security tower. He's going to bridge, accelerate for the bridge. I probably would not have put back the surface defense either, because I would have used the surface defense to get I Am Your Father, to get Vader his lightsaber, to increase your drain. I mean, I guess you could waste your Vane pull to get Vader's lightsaber, but that's really bad. Don't do that. Now Vane's going to activate him back up to that 6th force. Now he'll deploy the security tower and drop Vader there. Now the other downside to doing this, and this is kind of why I also wasn't a fan of doing the force push, it was a 12 card start. He's now down to 5 cards in his hand. This guy isn't overly safe necessarily by himself, and by putting this site out right away too, your opponent's going to activate 8 on their first turn. There's not too many spies and things like that. Undercover spies and things, they could obviously drop 2 guys in battle and kill him and then cancel Visage on you. It's unlikely that would happen in this particular style of build, but you also haven't given yourself much to work with. And they could easily have an EPP, Obi, or Qui-Gon in this type of deck, just for some ground control, just to keep people honest, that this Vader with a 5-card hand, you're maybe not so worried about, like a force field or anything like that. It would have to be one hell of an opening hand to have all your location pullers and the force push and the Vader and the extra sight and the force field on top of it. So you would have thrown back alter first strike, yeah. Let's see. I like Sonic. Oh, Forrest is in the chat. Hey, Forrest. Well, welcome to the Twitch stream. I would have thrown alter and first strike back. Yeah, those are also good choices. You wouldn't have gone Vader turn 1. Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't like that play either. You get your locations out. You get your force activation. You draw a couple cards and keep your hand at like 10. And then you're activating, a dozen the following turn because your opponent's going to pull at least one system, right? And then now you're activating 12. You've got 10 cards in hand. You put this down. You put Vader down. You use the surface defense to get the I am your father to get him his lightsaber. Now you're in a much better situation. And I feel like the game sets itself up better. I don't know that the one extra visage damage that you don't take is going to pay off a lot in this case. So, all right, let's see what Forrest has got. He did start Insurrection aim high, so that might be a clue too that this isn't exactly a standard space deck. I mean, he could be playing it just for the 1-0 docking bays for the extra activation, but there's also a possibility he's playing his own battleground docking bay, which means he may to try and satisfy battle plan or battle order, which means he may actually have some type of ground character package that you should be a little cautious and weary about. He's going to use 3 force and he's going to get General Dodonna. So this is what the War Room does. Once per game you can download a Rebel leader here. And Dodonna, if at a War Room, you can upload a related battleground or a Y-Wing. You'll see I use him particularly in my EBO deck. He's very good at getting Gold Leader and Gold 1, which is kind of a pain in the ass to deal with for a lot of dark side space decks. But he also does get related battlegrounds. There is the Yavin 4 2/2 site, or other Yavin 4 sites you could get to also do that. And then while he's at the War Room, opponent's spies may not deploy here. And then your epic event destiny draws are +1. This is an epic event, so he's adding +1 to that draw. So now he only needs a ship and a 4 to get that working. And he's got another 1-0 docking bay. And he's going to rescue you again. So we had 2 rescues, a docking bay. All right, so probably not working with a great ship character package. And he doesn't pull his grabber yet. So Forrest, getting your grabber out, always a good idea. You never know what your opponent might play and when. And then I like that he's drawn up here. He's not pushing the action too much. And he is going to hear me baby and get the grabber out. Okay, there you go. And he does pull the battle plan, so Darkseid will have to pay for that drain. He doesn't pull a system. Interesting. So maybe he's not playing a space deck, or maybe he just didn't... maybe he forgot. Maybe he just didn't want to give his opponent somewhere else yet in space. So he does pay to drain, and we see Luke go off the top and an Odin Nestler combo, both of which could be pretty useful. Yeah, Luke off the top here, possibly playing more than one, but if that's his only Luke, that could be a little problematic. But yeah, at this point in time, Darkseid's only options turn 2 are basically activate and draw. So you kind of end up in the same position, but you took a little bit, it was a little bit of a riskier start to get there. There's the lightsaber. There's another Sonic. Now would be a good time to point man with this Sonic to look and see what the cards are in your force pile instead of just blindly drawing them all. Seeing what you're working with here. I don't know that you're overly worried about keep your eye. I mean, keep your eyes open is a thing, of course. He doesn't have any force to grab it, so you don't have to worry about that happening. I would probably point man here and looking at the cards in your hand. Well, Sonic is going to pull you these two, which are already on the table. So that seems like a good card you could just put back with the point man. And he is going to do that. Excellent, excellent. And now we get a peek, and he does take his Maul's Sith Infiltrator. We also saw, all right, so there's his space. There's his masterful move. There's Ventress in there. Was Maul in there too? Yep, there's Maul. Okay. Probably a good time to stop drawing. You got Maul in his ship, who can potentially cloak, help you get around battle plan for a turn or two. Alright. It's also possible that all his systems were in his deck. Yep, there you go. There's the other guy who's really annoying. The new and improved R2-D2, who goes to the used pile, who just comes right back in a number of decks. Yeah, so now this is a battleground. So now Lightside can deploy freely there. They could anyway. They couldn't because of him being a spy. All right, we got a Ray with Lightsaber. This might be a good time to use this masterful move to... he did pull Secret Plans. Coward would have been a good shield pull here to stop Ray from retrieving Lando, because he only occupies one battleground. But Secret Plans will probably hold up longer throughout the game. He does already have a Gick in hand, though. I don't know if he plays one or two. Only system was in your force pile. I'm sad this is the game being played with this deck, the most atypical game I've had with it. Okay. Yeah. Alright, so you had an Arshada and it just, you had to dig it out. Just a 1 for Battle Destiny, so Darkseid might get lucky and get out of trouble here. There's a 4. Yeah, I like this play here because you're canceling Visage this way. So you send R2 used. He goes used once per game. He covers the 4. Let you get to keep Ray. Ray will then cancel Visage. He loses Vane and A card. You can get rid of, I don't know, Accelerate or something. Or top deck 1. Definitely don't play the Gick. He throws away the extra Vader. Okay. And this is back to being a non-battleground, so again, Coward would come into play. He's going to grab the second Visage. That I don't like. So he plays 3 for the Accelerate to grab the extra Visage. He's got the Masterful move in his hand. He could use this to get the Visage. I mean, what other options he had at that time? I didn't really get it. No Escape was in there. I would have taken that would have been a better choice. He's already got First Strike. I don't think he had like a Presence of the Force or anything like that. But that would certainly be interesting if he had that option. I think Phantom Menace was the other one that's in there, so you could leave that. But yeah, getting like no escape and then using Masterful to get Visage, especially because you're not really probably going to just redeploy Visage this turn anyway, unless you're going to go risky with like drop Ventress and then put Visage down and then try and clear and then just fight this, which I don't necessarily know I would do. I'd pay and drain. I'd give Vader his lightsaber. Possibly add the Emperor as backup here, and then, you know, you're ahead. You pull Coward, your opponent can't drain. You're still doing 2 to 3 damage a turn, and, you know, kind of just sit back, look for an opportunity maybe to do this Maul shuttle, you know, kind of thing. me just 1 second here. So he puts Kyrkanos down with Vader. That I also don't like. You've already seen he's playing EPPs. There is a slight risk, of course, that he's got Clash. You have the Gick, so at least you're not in too much trouble, but this only works in battle that he can cancel the interrupt. So you leave yourself a little vulnerable to EPP random guy. Actually, Vader's immune to Clash, isn't he? Yeah, this one's immune to Clash. Take all that back. Never mind. Sorry. Just forget about that for a second. Rewind. There you go. All right. So probably still not necessarily sure you need this. I think it feels like he's just putting a guy down just to deploy something. So he doesn't, he paid the drain. He deployed the lightsaber, and he's like, I need to get cards out of my hand so then I can draw more cards. And sometimes people just get stuck into that. There's probably better places to put Kyrkanos than right here with Vader. And there's Coward. Okay. Oh, damn. We did get a peek. We did see some more EPPs in there. Doesn't look like it's a very space-heavy kind of deck. So this looks like more of a kind of a balanced or like a hybrid mains with some token space. And there's BB-8 and Black Squadron 1. Okay. And now he's going to get Gold Leader and Gold 1. So he's taking some stuff into hand. And he is drawn even more. Now he's going to rescue again. So he's really looking for those ships and pilots and stuff. Seems like Forrest got off to a bad start here. He canceled Visage, which was good, but he's not really doing anything that his deck is meant to do, and he's starting to fall behind a little bit. Now he's going to eat 3 more. There goes projection number 2, which is useless in this particular matchup because of the this being a mobile site. See, this play I like better. Rather than put Kyrkanos there, save Kyrkanos where he can actually possibly be useful, like as a passenger on a ship or something like that. The Emperor there, who can then potentially force lightning any undercover spies. Plus you've got Sniper. I do like that setup better. Because this thing can hold some people. May add 2 pilots. Alright, it can't hold anybody. It can just hold a friend. So if this is his only ship, well then, Kyrkanos has very limited range to begin with. Hey, maybe Kyrkanos and Iceheart go take over one of these 1-0 docking bays. Who knows? Alright. We got a peek there at Droid Pimp's reserve deck. Kind of a mixed bag. And he is going to go to space now. He's got the Gold Leader. And there's the Tantive. So I think Tantive was in his reserve deck, so that must have been the card that he rescued into. Now he's got 2 Battlegrounds, so he's getting around Coward. So now he's going to Jedi Lev to get R2 back, probably, because that's what we top decked. So he's going to have to pay 4, 3 for the Jedi Lev and 1 for it. He's going to get R2 back into hand, put R2 back over here, get himself a Battleground site. It's kind of the long way to doing it, but sometimes that's what you got to do when you top deck a character by accident. Or some kind of rewind on stuff so you don't have to restart the whole game just to see a reserve search. Yeah, I agree with that. It would be nice to have a rewind button. I'm sure the bug guys would love to have that as well. So when they're like, wait, what just happened? And then they have to like, all right, so that was turn 4, refresh, fast forward. But maybe when this something else that can be changed when the program goes open source at some point in time. And there is Jin Urso. Go dig out a Force Lightning. Plenty of good destinies in there. Not looking good, too good for Jin. Might have gone for the Force Lightning on my opponent's turn, but he's going to, I guess, try and play it a little safer. All right, so what do we got? Not so good now. We've got a 3 out of 5, so you got a 60% chance and no Sith Fury to redraw if you draw one of the characters. But Sniper seems like a pretty solid option. I'd probably just go for that instead. Because the only way you miss here, I think, is if you draw the 2 1s. Because this Vader doesn't add to his weapon destinies, does he? There you go. It's a 5. Doesn't matter anyway. No, he does a lot of other things, but he doesn't add to weapon destinies or anything. No, I am your father out yet, so he doesn't get the 1 force loss for it, but she's out of here. You think breaking her cover is better than force lightning her? Or getting rid of her? He's got 10 cards in his hand. There's a pretty good chance he's got to have a Hoojix, right? You break her cover and you battle her and you force him to play the Hoojix. I don't know that it's worth all that investment. I think I'd rather just kill her and get the drain of 3 this turn and keep putting the pressure on because you're already pretty far ahead and you're not facing a whole lot of damage. I mean, it's 2 and 2, but you're, again, pretty far ahead. And again, he's got 10 cards in his hand. Now, granted, you've got the first strike, so I see where you're going with that, and you can make a very compelling argument for that, but it's going to take to the following turn because Iceheart doesn't break the cover until the move phase. So what? You deploy Iceheart, you break Jin's cover, and then she just moves over here. Or then you've got to split people up, and you've got to move the Emperor there first during your move phase, and then break her cover, or break her cover and then just move over afterwards. And then on her turn, she runs away to the Emperor, and then what? You drop Tarkin there and battle her, and yeah, it gets complicated, and it takes a lot longer to get that way. And in the meantime, there's the possibility of, what if they have friends? What if it's, all right, great, well, you broke Jin's cover, well, here comes EPP, Obi, and Anakin. It just gets messy. There's too many things, there's too many variables and too many scenarios for how that can play out. If you just eliminate her right now, take her off the table, I think that's the more consistent approach, and I think you're going to have the better results in the long term doing it that way. That's my opinion. You miss if he has the Lady Interrupt. To cancel the Destiny? Yes. Yes, you do. But then you Force Lightning her. Possibly. So, I don't know. You have options. If those options both fail, then you drop Iceheart and break her cover. I know you've overcommitted at that point in time, but you've just made him burn how many counters? So, we'll just agree to disagree on that one, which is why Star Wars is such a complicated game. Because even good players often disagree about what to do in different scenarios. So there's that drain to 3 again. Just going to keep that pressure on. And he's going to drop Ventress and Dr. E. And Iceheart. I don't know that I'd put her down there. If you were going to add anybody just for a random forfeit fodder in this kind of situation, I think Min would be a better use than Iceheart. I don't know that he's doing you a whole lot anywhere else other than he's a leader to trigger Tarkin maybe, but and I guess Dr. E's purpose here is what? Swing at R2 and then make him immediately lost? I think this feels more like a knee-jerk, like I play a guy with the lightsaber and Dr. E, and that's really good. I don't know necessarily where this takes you, because if you hit Rey, the battle's over, and that's not really necessarily what you want. Because it still leaves R2 there, and then they can still deploy more people if they really want to try and come back and battle you. If you hit R2 and take him out of the battle, Rey still gets to swing. It's not a battleground anymore, so she can't retrieve. But she's also not hit and forfeit 0, and still going to cover the battle damage for the most part. Because she'll be power 5, and she forfeits for 7, which covers more than that. So, not a whole lot of value here. Obviously, it's a good thing to protect the Visage and get the extra damage in. But I don't know where we're going with that. I know where we're going with that. At least I know where I think he's going with that, which is to hit R2, make this a non-battleground, and then, take out Rey. Technically, I guess you could swing at both of them, because R2 has no defense value. You could hit them both, but it only makes them forfeit -2, so probably not worth the extra effort. Is there really any extra effort? You just have to pay an extra force. Maybe you could swing at both of them. Sure, why not? All right, there's the first strike. That'll get the sniper back. So that's fine. Is Hunt Down the best platform for Darkside mains decks right now? Did I just infer that you're a good player? Yes, Bill, I inferred that you are a good player. Because you are a good player. Is Hunt Down the best platform for Darkside mains decks right now? Well, yeah, there's a number of options for Darkside mains. They're all tier 2. None of them are really super great options. There's decks that start a 2-0 site and do the slip sliding away to get a battleground and set up that way. You've got a stunning move playing sort of the episode 1 Dark Jedi, Maul and Dooku and Sidious. And then you've got Hunt Down, who's kind of more Vader Maul centric. And then the other guys are just sort of peripheral characters. Of course, the downside to Hunt Down is how many non-battlegrounds it plays. You start 2 on the table, and your typical activation platform involves pulling at least 2 others. And with no idea being as popular it is, and them having 17 spies in their deck, it's very easy for them to pile up a bunch of guys at the beach, pile up a bunch of ships at the system, or just a couple ships at the system, and get 2 battlegrounds, and then put a guy at each of your non-battleground locations, and just get through a whole bunch of drains of 2, and can really kind of make the game. You get burned by your own locations. Not something that light side usually has to deal with too much. ISB aside, ISB is starting to do that a little bit too, I guess. Bring Him Before Me is pretty decent as well. Would I make it immediately lost? If you don't have to, this is optional to make the character. It's May target character just hit and make them lost. So if you were to use Ventress and swing and hit both, would you just make them both immediately lost? If you did that, then you wasted Ice Heart. You also have an issue with Destiny because you do still have a 1 floating around in there from when he played the sniper. So he drew the surface defense and the Dooku, so we know he's got a 1 and 2 4s in there. So in this situation, knowing there's a possibility you can miss by drawing a 1 in the fours, or as Bill mentions, having the female interrupt and the destiny just getting canceled, I think you just play it safe, swing at R2, take him out of the battle. Ray swings and hits Dr. E probably because he's got the low defense value and the high forfeit. One of these other characters then dies to attrition, and depending on what his destiny draw is, and then you go from there. And he is just going to swing at R2. Yeah, you could draw the 4 and the 1 and miss. Actually, I think they're both 4s, aren't they? So you would miss Ray regardless at this point. And that's good. That's kind of the way you wanted it. You wanted to get the 1 out of there, so now you can draw the other, I think it's Blizzard 4, if I remember correctly. He's hit. You might as well operate. He's already gone to the use pile once, so he can't use that text. At least he shouldn't be able to use that text again. Okay, good. So it looks like he tried to use that text, but then it failed, so it let you try to do it? That's interesting. And here was another interesting thing. Because Ray swung a permanent weapon, the force field V is you can use 2 force to cancel a permanent weapon used to target your character. That's the lost version. So he could have just used the lost version and just kept her from getting hit. Might not be a bad way to go either. You've got the force to spare. I know you usually want to save it to protect Vader. I know that's the instinct. But Vader and the Emperor together with the Force Lightning in hand, I don't know how people are going to come tango with that. Maybe. Maybe an EPP on a suicide run with a Hoojix to take him and the lightsaber out. I don't know. You also don't have to worry about like a sorry, well, first strikes out, so you don't have to worry about a sorry about the mess, taking her out of the battle and getting rid of any power or, extra forfeit here. But this does make sure that you do lose 2 guys, which could be problematic. I think I would have played the force field. I think I would have been like, you know what? I'm going to keep all my guys. I'm going to pick which ones I lose, not you. You've already got half his deck in the loss pile. He's only got 20 cards left. I think you're okay here playing the force field to protect her. To protect anybody, really, from getting swung at. Yeah. Yep, Blizzard 4. All right. Whew. I do still remember some things. All right, so right now Ray is basically covering everything, and he draws a 4 back. So now you lose Iceheart, and you lose Dr. E, and you keep Ventress to guard your visage. But there will be no overflow. Should deploy to I Am Your Father, too. I know you've already got the lightsaber out and everything, but just in case anybody comes down to battle, or another undercover spy shows up, or Jin gets somehow Jedi-lived back out of the lost pile, you might as well put the I Am Your Father down to get the 1 ping. I don't know. You can make the argument that at this point in time, Vader's never going to leave the table, probably. So it's just 1 more card on the table where you'd rather have it in the hand. All right, so there's going to liberate. So ordinarily, you could have subtracted 1 from that with the dark time to possibly make him miss. He drew a 5. He adds 1 to it because of gold leader, making it a 6. And you have to have greater than 5 in order to flip it. So the dark time could have subtracted 1. But Dodonna also adds 1 to the total, making him a total of 7, as you can see here in the chat log. So Wisely doesn't play the dark time. Now he's got to lose a force and stack it under Narshada. And now that is a drain of 3. And there's going to top deck 3 cards. It's going to be the Lizard 4. It's going to be the Vader. And then whatever the other 4 was. Oh, the other dark time. Okay, so he's got 2 dark times. We got Dash in there and a handful of useful red cards, orange cards for light side, I guess. He's just going to split his ships back up. He's going to move away. So he stole a card, and now he's going to move back over to Yavin, and he's going to try and set it up again. But not getting any rebels in play, really, to flip the objective. It's kind of hurting a little bit. You could have some type of force retrieval, possibly, if you had guys on the ships and things. Five, 5, 1, 5. It's pretty solid. The question is what do you want to do with that? You've got plenty of force. He saved 2 force. Could be a reacting spiral. Could be a barrier. If I were Brian at this point, and I think I see where he's going to go with this, it's probably going to be Maul and the Infiltrator. You could even put Tarkin in there as a second passenger, as a second pilot. He'll give you 2 more power plus 6 more forfeit. So that will solve some issues there. You could go here. I don't like that. But you could go here and then just like, oh, hope I can force drain and get my card back. Or, you know, he'll have to deploy other stuff to me or move back to me. Personally, you've got the first strikeout. This is all he's looking at right here. Go ahead and try and be a little aggressive here. You know your destiny's pretty good. You're probably going to draw. You got a 75% chance of drawing a 5. So your power's 6. You draw a 5, you're at 11. Even if he draws a 4, he's at 13. You lose 2 cards. He loses a ship. He loses the Tantive because Gold Leader's not going to cover. Then you can move away. But you picked something off. You did some first strike damage and retrieval. And if you need to, you know, Maul can still just cloak. If he barriers you and you don't get to battle, just cloak. And then you stop him from draining, and then he can't, you know, make you lose another card. You don't really try and flip. Okay. Sometimes it happens, but it's not really the goal. Okay, so you're just trying. Occasionally you might get the benefit of it. Gotcha. Yeah, I'd go to Yavin. I'd go Maul Infiltrator to Yavin. All right. Let's see what he's got. Probably got a barrier of some kind, right? Nope, no barrier. Min is not a pilot. That I don't like. That's just a waste of force. And he needs cards in his hand. So that I don't like. And then he's not even going to try and battle. He's just going to lose to the cloak. Which is the same basically as letting your opponent drain there. Yeah. I don't like this outcome. At this point in time, he's going to need another spy and a guy on top of it with limited force to work with to come back here and clear Visage again. He's going to have 2 guys because if he only has 1 guy, you know, he's going to have to forfeit first. I mean, granted, he might be able to just lose a card or something, depending on the scenario, but for the most part, that's what's going to happen. you go, Point Man. One of these 7s back. Put the Phantom Menace or something back. No, put the 7 back. Why not the 6? Put the 7 back. Yeah, at this point in time, I don't think there's much else worth getting out of there. There you go. Take the Sniper so you can stop the undercover spies, plus it's the lowest destiny card. Unlikely Barrier is going to come into play with just a handful of cards left down. I Have You Now, probably also not going to be too useful. We've already seen that he's got a Hear Me Baby, which cancels it. I don't know if it's made it to the lost pile yet. I haven't been paying that close attention. So I would just grab the Sniper. Yeah. So they both had 9 cards in hand. Darkseid has a 20 to 13, so they've got a 7 card advantage. And now we see the Maroons come out. Okay. So there's Hera. Oh. It's going to revert that. Hopefully the link doesn't break during the revert. That's a glitch. That'd be nice if they could fix that. He's just going to undo that. So Ahsoka's going to the ground. I can see that. The 2 characters who look a little bit alike. And then Hera to space. Poe and his ship over there. And now he's got 3 battlegrounds, so he can pull Ultimatum. Now we're kind of just lagging a little bit here. That's Ultimatum. Trust me, it's according to the chat log, it says it's Ultimatum, so we're going with that. A little glitchy after the revert. Alright, there's the control tunnel vision to cancel the drain. Min, once per game, he can use a force and put it out of play. We already saw Solo go off the lost pile off the top. He went pretty early, but it's probably there might be a better use for that to get that out of play, but so he cancels the drain. So now we're going to end up, I think, where we ended up last turn, which is with Nope, Tarkin's going after Ahsoka. Let's rewind for a second. You know how he played Point Man and he put a card down? That should be what this card is. The card he put in the bottom. This should be I Am Your Father, the 6. Ahsoka subtracts 1 from your destiny draws, which automatically makes that a 5. If he has anything else, like They're Tracking Us, that also subtracts 1, that's going to be a 4. She's going to be immune to it, and nothing is going to happen. But if he had put the Phantom Menace back, which isn't really going to do a whole lot because Maul's in space, then it doesn't matter what he plays, Ahsoka still dies. The other option, of course, too, is put these guys both in space, battle, do some damage, draw the 7, clear some stuff, get retrieval and whatnot, and then you could just land, and then these guys could hop out, and then you've got yourself in a much better situation, too. You don't necessarily know you need to do that just yet. But still, even still, just putting the card back differently. That's really all I'm trying to say. You leave yourself more options. And again, this card's not doing much for you as is, so you might as well put the 7 back instead of the 6. Put Walkling out of play while he can. Pay 1 and retrieve the 6 that he just threw away from hand. So now he can track a 6 for the following turn. That 6 will make sure that Poe liberates the system. So there's the 6, which becomes a 5. He does not have anything else. No, they're tracking us or anything in his hand. Oh, but he blind draws a few maneuvers. So now he's got 2 6s set up together. Don't know if you can take advantage of that in this situation, but Tarkin did exactly what he needed to. And he does remember to cloak, which is important. He's pitching cards. He top decked P-59 from his force pile and then threw away the Phantom Menace. And he picks up Blizzard 4, which could also be useful, and an extra Maul. Not so useful. Kylo, good time. Stop drawing. You're good. There you go. So now he's got some extra guys who could go back to this particular site. He kicked them off the ground, so now he's got to pay to drain again. He does activate all of it, so I'm not sure what he's got to work with here. But he does activate all of it, and then these would be the 6s. Right back there. Maul, accelerate, accelerate. He found honor. And since he's currently only at 2 battlegrounds and he doesn't have no escape out, and then there's Corran Horn. It's a little annoying. And Wedge is going to end up as a pilot on the ship, just in case Maul gets any crazy ideas. Alright, well, we've got Corran Horn to show up. And he's got a Force Lightning used. So we just set up a 5-4. That's pretty good. Forrest will draw the remaining card in his force pile and then lose nothing to Visage because of honor. Brian can activate. He activated one too many there, because I'm pretty sure he had a card in his force pile already, right? Maybe not. He played a Dark Time. Then he Force Lightninged. Okay, maybe he did that right. Yeah, okay. So this should be Force Lightning and then a Dark Time underneath it. Something and then Force Lightning and then a Dark Time underneath it. That's what I was getting at. So something and then a 5 and then draw a 4 for Battle Destiny. Alright, so he'll get a Drain of 2 in. There goes the Clash. Haha, he does have Clash. Alright. So you drop Kylo. I throw the Blizzard 4 down there too. Yeah, go for it. Go for it all right here. No guts, no glory. If nothing else, A, you kick him off the site. Yeah, and he's just going to concede. Because we know he's going to draw. He's going to hit Corran Horn. He's going to lose a force. After he loses a force from the first strike and his opponent retrieves one, Kylo does make forfeit 0. He has no force saved, so even if this one card in his hand was the Hoojix, he still can't play it. Honor doesn't help either. So he's already looking at a dozen in overflow, which is going to be more than enough to end the game. So certainly found some pointers, some things that Star Fox certainly could have done differently. Usually when people send me game links, it's games that they lost, not games that they won. But hey, that doesn't have to be. It's not always a requirement. So certainly some things that we pointed out, some things we agreed on, some things we disagreed on. Different ways to play this up. Definitely looks like the way, Droid Pimp Forrest never really matched for many ships in this particular thing, and only has a couple, probably it looked like he had Luke, Poe. We've got Wedge. I don't know if there's probably a Pulsar Skate possibly in there for him. I don't know. And then I saw Dash at one point as well, so. But it was an interesting game. We got to see some different things. thank you to Brian for sending the link. Hopefully he learned some pointers. Hopefully you all learned a few things. I know I at least refreshed my memory on a few things. You know, at my age, you start to forget more things than you know anymore. And still no OCS games going on in the lobby. So for those of you that missed the beginning part of the show, thank you for sticking through to the end. And that is the Admiral Trench foil version that you're playing the online play week for. Last week we showed off the Captain Rex foil version, which doesn't look as hologrammy as some of the other ones have. Dan tried to show the Trench this week on Holo Theater on Wednesday, but he only had the regular version. This is the holo version, which I think looks really cool and kind of in line with past years. Thanks again to Kevin and any of his team that may have been assisting him in getting those printed and cut and shipped. So Forrest has 10 cards that work with squadron assignments, and you didn't find one until turn 3. Yeah, there's always that game where your deck just craps out completely on you, and you just, you draw half of every combo, and then when you look in your reserve deck, all the other halves are in your force pile, or, yeah, you all wings for the ship, and then activate the guy, and then, yeah. It's just sometimes you just get those random bad luck games. You just shake them off and just go, all right, this was just a bad luck game. Looks like GEMP just crashed, or at least need to be rebooted. Yeah, looks like kicked everybody out. I know it does it every time the server clock resets at 8 o'clock. Looks like this one went a little later. And everybody's going to have to log back in and looks like start up their games again. It looks like everybody got kicked off, so the whole thing must have crashed. This makes it a perfect time to wrap up our show. So thank you guys very much for watching this evening. I hope you had a good time. Thank you for participating in the chat. Looks like we had a lot of different people on. Jared wants me to point out that we are at 199,221 lifetime games. Oh, looks like they're resetting it again. There's a button here, server stats, which I can pull up in a minute. So we are getting pretty close. We are just over 750 games away. You can look at the old server stats. It's a fun little thing you can do. You can go start date and go back to like 2000. Ugh, looks like it's still going to be buggy. All right, well, anywho, we're just shy of 200,000 games, and I believe this week on a Holo Theater, Dan is trying to get a hold of Troy so he can interview him. Troy, the original guy who created the Star Wars version of the GEMP platform, to talk to him about, hitting that 200,000 game milestone and what it means to him and all those wonderful things. I do know he's been... Troy is a bit incognito about things and doesn't check the forums or Slack all that often, so he can be a little hard to get a hold of at times now that he's retired from programming GEMP. So hopefully he can get a hold of Troy. Troy can be on the show Wednesday night. If not, I'm sure they will have a backup guest or something else planned. There's a prize for the player who plays game number 200,000, right? I believe there is something going on for that. I don't know 100%, but I feel like I heard that somewhere, kind of like the old days when they were talking about it on Holo Theater, like being the, 1,000th customer at the supermarket and the sirens go off and the confetti drops and, you get like a $50 gift card or something like that. Or back in the day, it'd be like a Blockbuster movie pass. For anybody over 30 might actually remember what a Blockbuster is. But yeah, I'm sure they'll be trying to do something. But coming up could be you. You could be number 200,000. And will you be on the winning side or the losing side of history? But we'll be back next Monday night, same bat time, same bat channel. See you guys next week.